So as we go around back here, so we've explored the function of it based off of the origin insertion, right? And then we go, okay, what is the pattern and where does the pattern break? Now, the pattern is the killer because we all know roughly what the pattern is, right? It's like this chocolate bar effect or this turtle effect, you know, something like that. So then you need to go, okay, well, that's going to give me horizontal and vertical lines all day long. So how do I break that? And this is what I would look for. So we do have this pretty vertical line down the middle. And then we'll hit the belly button somewhere there. But then here, as we break into these separate bits of muscle, this top pack is shortest and generally has a downwards angle. This second one is longer, forms a fairly horizontal line through there. And then this third one generally points down. Like, that's not going to be the same in everyone. Like, we all have variety in our bodies, but this is the way that I would look for it, just to make sure I'm not hitting parallel lines all the way down there. So, so yeah, that's really all I'm looking for when I hit the abs. As I go through to my obliques, I'm only really interested in the obliques in terms of how they impact the form down here. So there's something like well, it's kind of like an open teardrop through there, a form like that. So the obliques are doing a bunch of things. Let's say they're originating on the hips and they're inserting, well, okay, they're originating on the hips and there's this line that goes right, this line of tendon that goes right the way down the body through there, where the obliques and the abdominals are grabbing. But for sake of argument, let's say they're grabbing hold of the hips and they go up to the rib cage. So then they do what? Yeah, well, yeah, twisting is an interesting one, like, because they do, right? If we can break their function down into a bunch of different things. Like, if they're originating from here and they're inserting there, they pull that point to that point, which is this lateral flexion, right? They can also, because like, you imagine they're going back that way, right? So they're coming from the front, going to the back, so they can also help the abdominals pull the body forward. But the twist is an interesting one because they are wrapping around the form here. They're starting from the front and going towards the back. So it's that idea we spoke about before of like, if you're reaching around the form, then it's going to allow you to do the twist. So if I'm twisting this way, which side is active?
Left.
Yeah, everyone thinks the left, right? Makes me doubt myself, but I swear it's not, because it's like, okay, you think the fingers of the oblique on this side, they're wrapping around, so they pull from there to there, they're pulling it forwards. Does that make sense? Boom, there. So it's actually this side that's tense. You know, it doesn't really matter if you remember that or not, but like, just the interesting thing is to kind of just train this way of thinking, I would say. In terms of the way they're impacting the form, it's really down here. Like, muscles do not have consistent thickness all the way through. That's a thing that I never saw written in an anatomy book. And as soon as I realized it, it's like, Jesus, yeah, that changes a lot. Because if you understand that, you can understand the latissimus a lot better. You can understand the trapezius a lot better. And of course, like the obliques, it's more obvious in the obliques, right? This is where the mass of the obliques is. They're carrying on all the way up here, but they're kind of flat through there. Again, in a super, like, hench bodybuilder, yeah, you're going to start to find the individual digitations of the muscle. But really, it's that shape there that we're interested in. Here, I would look for ribs primarily, and then maybe layer on a bit of obliques on top of that. But as they run around the back, there's this interesting thing where it's like, so through here, what happens is the obliques meet the fibers of the serratus like that. When they run out of serratus, they grab hold of the latissimus, right? So the latissimus will be going forward. So you do have like muscle on muscle action sometimes. Very rare, but in this case you have the fibers of the obliques grabbing hold of the fibers of the latissimus. I can't think of many times in the body you would see that, but you see it all the time in the face, right? Muscles are grabbing hold of the skin or they're grabbing hold of other muscles. One thing I would mention here is just like as we move around to the back, if you look at this in an anatomy book, what you'll see is the obliques come all the way around there, and then the lats start here, and you end up with a triangle like that. You're not going to see that in life, right? Men store have this fat storage up there. Women store fat in a slightly different way, but there's still fat there. Can't think of any time when I've seen that separation with any degree of clarity. Okay, so that leaves us with what? Just the pecs, pretty much. And then we've got most of what we need. So, so with the pecs, there are a whole bunch of ways that you can break this down. But one that I think is quite useful is making like a disc like this. Reason for that is it gives us one of the things that is key to the personality of the pecs, which is that you have this big flat surface and then you have this sudden sharp turn underneath there. And then the pecs are like wings, you know, they're grabbing hold of the clavicle through there, but then they're leaving the body to grab hold of the humerus here. So points of origin, sternum down there, clavicle, 2/3 of the clavicle along there. Points of insertion, the humerus. They pull the humerus towards the body. It's that, right? It's why birds, again, like take a look at your meal plate. Have a look at chicken breast, massive, right? Because it's a flapping muscle. So pulling that towards that. There's a slight nuance, but let's play it out. The pec is going to the outside of the humerus. What does that mean? What other function can it do because of that? Yeah, it's spinning it towards the inside through there, right? This kind of gets important, like when we look at these muscles, for example, this teres major dives to the front. Infraspinatus goes around to the back. That means that those two muscles, when you're dealing with rotation, are antagonistic to each other. Right? If the teres major is going around to the front, it's spiraling around that way. The infraspinatus is going to the back, it's pulling it around that way. And you'll see, like, if you look at this in life, the shape of the musculature on the scapula changes massively, you know, depending on rotation. So, so certainly worth thinking about, and thinking about like where the nuances of where muscles go can have a fairly significant impact. We've mentioned with the pecs that we have that dominant triangle up there. Actually, do you know what? I'm not going to do any more on the pecs for now because we're going to mesh this together and start putting skin on it in a minute. So we'll just leave it at that. So that will leave us with the deltoids, and then we're done. So with the deltoids, we've already mentioned a bunch of stuff, all the stuff that's relevant, really. So here, deltoid coming from the shoulder girdle, going down towards the arm. And we know that it's a triangular mass, right? But as we've already mentioned, it's bulging out the front through here, and we've got a flatness on the back. Straight away, just if we hit that, then at least from the side view, we're going to have some sort of juxtaposition, right? Here's that S movement going forwards, coming back, and then the deltoid points towards the front. Like that's most of what we need, to be honest, from the deltoids. Okay, looking pretty wide. Okay, and then up here, like, we'd have a bunch of things. I'll put something in, hang on. So through here, what I'm going to do is just fake it. I'm just going to put an egg shape in here, which will be representative of our traps, of a whole bunch of things. One thing I noticed as a student was that Michelangelo would use just eggs a lot. Like you just have egg on top of egg on top of egg, because like when you add those forms together, you get lines that dance, and it, you know, one egg gives you symmetrical lines, but you slap another one on it and it breaks it instantly. And if you're interested in that kind of mannered way of working, you know, it's not super realistic, but it's super powerful. And you see guys of that era in the High Renaissance were doing it all the time. Raphael does it to a more relaxed level. Rubens does it like to a crazy level. You just throw eggs in there. So I would say, as a rule, working with anatomy, if in doubt, chuck in a couple of eggs, you know, and it's generally going to work pretty well. Like, I mean, that's I noticed that with Raphael. It's like his accuracy, his anatomy is fairly accurate, but Not completely, but you can see he has a rule. He goes, if that area is under tension, and he does that by just figuring out the story of the musculature, then I'll throw in some eggs. If it's not, I'll make the line pretty straight. And it works pretty well, and he's able to do it fairly quickly and fairly efficiently.